Hi guys and girls, and welcome to Talking Heads podcast live from Pattaya, Thailand. I'm the host Dave D, and thank you for joining me here today, and thank you for joining our family. For you guys out there, of course, who have already subscribed to the channel, thanks a lot. And of course, for you guys out there that want to know all of what's coming up and happening, hit that notification bell right now. Of course, we are a listener-sponsored podcast. We survive from you guys liking us and we liking you. We're one big family. Thanks for joining us. There's a lot to come, and we'll see you soon. Don't forget all the links below. See you next time. Bye.
Thailand with your host Dave D. Join us weekdays. Check out all the latest updates on talkingheads-podcast.com.
Welcome to Pattaya, welcome to Thailand, and of course, welcome to Talking Heads down here, live in the heart of Asia. And of course, at the end of the table, as per normal, the man himself, Mr. Bobby Pars. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about Penguin, man. We've known each other for a year on social media, and here he is in the studio live.
In the flesh. So you're excited to see what's going to be happening today, aren't you?
Absolutely. He was doing some magic before the show, man, so we're going to check that out even more.
Penguin, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Nice to have you. Great badge. I love that. It says just visiting the planet.
No, that's true.
That's true. We are, aren't we, Bobby? Is that right?
That's true.
See, I'm not going to start him off because once he gets going, he's like a horse. He's off, and you're just going to slow him down. Penguin, tell us, from the people that don't sort of know you, let's start from the beginning. Whereabouts are you from?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm a Tangerine.
Okay.
I was born in Tangier, and at a time when Tangier was an international zone like Hong Kong. So everybody who was born in that period of the 50s in, I think it was from 1954 to 1960, would have been called Tangerine. And so I'm a Tangerine. But I was born there, but I'm an American. I grew up in California and London.
California and London?
And London, yeah. Well, I went to school in London for a little while.
You like that? You like London?
I loved it.
In the year, what was the year?
It was 1964.
Great times.
65,
Great
66.
times.
Amazing. I was in St. Paul's Cathedral Choir School, so I was a singer. I was a soloist, and I was very lucky to get into school and all that. And then, but you know, I also grew up in California and Huntington Beach, Manhattan Beach, that area, Southern California. And I went to UC Santa Cruz, up to Santa Cruz for school, and so yeah, that's more or less where I'm from. But you know, I'm international.
So schooling was good, and I can see on the table today we've got quite a few little things. Before we go there and start having a look, and you can go through them one at a time. Career-wise, I mean, what have you done in your life? I mean, sort of you stepped out of school and into what? Was you doing what you're doing now, or?
Well, I was doing shows in San Francisco on the street. I used to do street shows in the Cannery and in Ghirardelli Square. I worked at a magic shop, which was the Ripley's, believe it or not, Magic and Witchcraft Museum, and they had a magic shop there, and that was how I managed to get to buy a lot of equipment that I needed for the shows. And then, but I was always doing music as well. I had been in bands in high school and all that, so I wanted to combine the two. And when I was in 1976, I decided to go to Europe and see some family and whatever, and for 6 months. But I kind of ended up being a lifetime. I went down to North Africa, met some great people, met this guy, Patrick Iversen, who was a flute player. He is still a flute player, I should say, from Norway. And we started a show together, and I was with my, that time, girlfriend, She was a belly dancer she was Italian American, very hot. And
very hot. Why? The weather, or she was.
She was very hot.
There we go.
It helped the show.
Got to get that right.
And then we ran into. We were at a beach, I think it was called Banana Beach, camped out with a couple tents, and this red fire truck pulls up, 1944 Mercedes, with these crazy-looking people. These guys with long hair, with beards, with bells in their beards, and making music, and there's nobody on this beach for miles. I mean, we're the only ones, and they pull up right next to us and go, "Yeah, this is the spot." Like, who are these people? And it turned out to be my longtime friend Che and Jochen and these guys. We started right there and then the Magic Circus.
Wow.
Because they were musicians and they had all these drums and all this stuff, and I thought, wow, this is really cool.
So when you say fire engine, what the fire engine was, what that was going to be part of your
Well,
whatever
what we got around on.
Wow.
You know, I mean,
On a
that's
fire
how we
engine.
travel. Is a fire engine, a 1944 Mercedes. It was built for Himmler,
Okay.
and but he never got it. It was supposed
Obviously.
to be, and it never left Biberach, where it was from. It only had like a couple thousand kilometers on it.
Wow.
On the engine. So we toured all over North Africa with that, and then. Of course, Southern Europe, and I ended up in Italy starting a new kind of thing there called Circo Minestrone with more artists. By that time, we were about 16 people.
It's still in the traveling circus?
Yeah, but the truck went back to Germany, and we went south. We wanted to go down to Sicily and all these places. And we did Spoleto, all these great shows.
Is this but how did you sort of like, in those days, I mean, we're talking about 60s, yeah, still?
70s.
70s, okay.
76,
In the 70s. I mean, in the 70s, I mean, what about sort of like, were the people acting on your behalf to get you gigs and stuff like this? Or was it word of mouth? Or?
It was amazing, actually. People would see us doing shows, and they would immediately say, can you come to here? Can you come there? How much would it cost? We were always, it was a good show. We had a couple of really great artists from the Jacques Lecoq School of Mime, Taxi and Bimo. One guy was from New Zealand, the other guy was from Australia. We had Maurizio, who was become a super famous musician, composer, writing for orchestras and movies and stuff. Actually, most of the people who were in that group became famous somehow.
Right.
They all went on to do big things. And but I went up to Germany at one point and wanted to find the truck again. And I met these two guys on the street in Munich, and I was doing a street show in front of the Marienplatz, this big clock tower. And these two guys came up, and one of them was on roller skates, very tall guy with a one-man band on his back and a violin, and his name was Otto. And the other guy was Benelli. And Benelli was, I guess you call him a dwarf. He was on stilts, and he had a one-man band, and he played guitar, and he had this curtain that went back and forth. And we decided to call ourselves the Too Much Brothers. And at that point, then Che joined us from the Biberach area, and it became this four-man show. And then we thought, yeah, this is really fun. This is great. We're making great money, and we're having a great time.
Still traveling around the clubs, though, yeah?
Well, we were doing street shows mostly at that time, and doing theaters.
Right.
Theaters that were all over the place. There was a lot of alternative stuff happening at that time. And so we would tour with bands, and like Olgenwalde and other people. And these two guys were famous already. They had made many albums. They'd done like 6 albums or something, and they had a big following. And their thing mainly was songs about dope. No, really, they actually went to prison for something that they sang, and they were constantly in the news. They were very controversial at the time. And I wanted to go with Che. We decided to go to and my girlfriend to India, and he had a girlfriend with him too. And so, well, we got separated, and I ended up doing shows hitchhiking and doing shows in Turkey. We took a bus from Istanbul.
So you were sort of like what, doing the street magic and earning money from that to travel to the next place and just keep going?
Well, we did the street, then we also did some clubs. You know, I mean, we get gigs that were, really good gigs. Like in Italy, there were some beautiful gigs. And the festivals.
I mean, in those days, of course, the 60s, 70s, live and let live, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very free. It was a very free scene, and there was a way that people connected on the street. People connected. You knew somebody that would introduce you to somebody else. You'd be told, like, oh, if you're going to such and such a place, be sure to stop in and see these guys.
Right.
They have a farmhouse and they have a studio. And so we met a lot of other artists. And I met Werner Herzog, for instance, in Munich. And he loved the show. And he said, I want to make a movie about this. I said, okay. He goes, all right, I will put a bus together, and we put all the magic and everything on the bus, and we'll take it to India. And they took off 2 days before I get it back.
Yeah.
So they left without me.
And you had to get there or not get there?
No, I kept running into them along the way. I mean, I ran into them in Afghanistan, and I was actually glad I was not on that bus, because there were a lot of arguments and fights.
I would imagine there was a bit of a close family on there.
Well, there were some I would call them PAs. They wanted to be in the film business, and they were. How can I put it? They were extremely rude and pushy, and they were pushing the other artists. And in fact, every artist that was on that bus eventually left it and joined mine. I managed to put a bus together in Afghanistan with a couple of guys.
That's an achievement.
Yeah, no, it was. I had a big green busing bus. It was fantastic, and had a stage on top. 2 guys, Alan and Colin, they were driving it, and I met Regina by then. Regina was fantastic. She was she used to dress up like Wonder Woman, and she would juggle fire and eat fire and do all this great stuff. And I'd found this guy Moss, who was a Canadian.
And this is all the time you was adding to the
adding to it, adding more people, and so Phil went off that bus, Werner's bus, and then Bodo went off that bus. One by one, all the artists ended up joining me on my bus.
And what was this, though? I mean, okay, so you're all on the bus, you're all traveling around, and you had certain venues where you were going to.
Well, I had in Afghanistan, I managed to put together a show. I went and got a work permit and everything. We went officially to the government, and we wanted to be the first Western circus to do shows in Afghanistan. And we got the permission, we got the work permits, but it took a month. And we toured Afghanistan, and that was amazing, because we were taken to places nobody went to. And sometimes there would be like a guy who was a kind of a guide from the government, from the Ministry of whatever it was, culture. And we'd come to like close to Mazar-e Sharif. He'd say, I have to get off the bus now. I said, well, what do you mean you're getting off the bus? He says, I can't go there. I said, why not? He goes, my family's feuding, the family up there, and they'll kill me. And he said, what about us? He said, oh, you won't have any problem. They don't know you. I'm like, great, thanks. But we actually had a fantastic time, and we had riots from people wanting to see the show.
If you could pick out, I mean, we're brushing over what you've done, and we can go more in depth. But I mean, like me, can you pick like one place that you've been to and you say that was where you think to yourself, this is it, whatever, it just felt right, everything felt right in one go, because there's times when things don't feel right. Yeah,
I mean, that's hard to say. I mean, in Hong Kong was great because I'd met Michael Jackson, and that helped my career a lot. But then again, in Taiwan, I met Stevie Wonder, and that also helped my career. But I think as being in a place where I felt really good was 3 places. It was Afghanistan, I really loved it, but that's gone. Nepal was wonderful at the time. Today it's polluted and it's changed a lot. I still love it, and I speak Nepali, and I wrote songs in Nepali. The other place is Thailand. Thailand, I've always loved Thailand. I first came here in '78, and we were guests Prince Bira, and we stayed for a year doing shows in refugee camps, orphanages, schools, all over the country, and they looked after us. And we had allowance, 500 baht each a week, and rent a car, and we could go anywhere we wanted. And they basically they would send us to do shows in different places. That was fantastic. Brilliant. Fell in love with Thailand.
Thailand's brilliant. I mean, we'll all sit here and say, everything's at your doorstep. I mean, people don't realize that. I mean, everything around you within a few 100 kilometers max, 20 kilometers, you got golf. I mean, it's a brilliant place. I mean,
for me, it was very, I think that what I fell in love with was the real Thai feeling. We were learning Thai. We did a couple of songs in Thai. We did the show in Thai. And was that connection. It was like just that whole, explain it. It's just the real Thai thing, basically, for me. Was
sure.
That. And
not the commercials.
No, not the commercial stuff, and definitely not the Western stuff. I was totally into the Thai lifestyle and what was going on. And to this day, I still live in an old Ayutthaya house. It's beautiful, like very old, 300 years long, whatever. I prefer living that way. I enjoy it, always have. I had an old house in Nepal, another one in Singapore, and wherever I've lived in places, I've always managed to get good places.
It's like everything in life. As long as you feel happy and comfortable, I mean that's the place that you can call home, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, we've got a ukulele here.
Oh yeah, I was just kind of playing with it. Well, as I was mentioning, we used to do songs in Nepali and Thai.
Yeah.
Never in English, funny enough. We did German. It was weird.
I think we should be There you go. And this is what we going to be playing. What do you want to play?
Just strumming a bit as I talk, I guess. It's a song in Thai, actually. It feels funny with the mic there. Okay. It's an old Isan song. I think it's now been Sao Konkan. It's like. And what I like about it is that when you play it on stage in Thailand, everybody starts to sing along. But to be honest with you, I've kind of forgotten the words.
Doesn't matter. That's right. Just play anything you know. Play. We're happy to everything, aren't we, Bobby?
Sure are.
I'm just worried about the sound a little bit, but
It's okay. It's all right.
there's a great song in Thai that the first song we ever learned was Nandokarai Sipwai Yunai Lahu Nandokarai Sipwai Yunai Lahu Chanyak Chalo Wai Dok Mainan Sokrambanyan Wai Doko Meriwan O Dok Mainan Ko Chan Chada Maita. This song was an old folk song, and we put it to a kind of a hillbilly beat. Yeah. And at the same time, when we were in Nepal, we wrote a song in the same exact tune, in fact. And it was called Himal Chuchureho. And it means to go to the top of the mountains, right? It's a very old folk song, in fact. And we put it to this kind of beat. And we got known as Himal Chuchure. And that was a very funny thing, actually. We were in Pokhara. I don't know if you're familiar with that place. It's a big lake in Nepal. And it was a very nice weather. We've been hanging out on the lake and playing our instruments and whatever. And we needed to get some candles. We were living in a round Nepali house made of mud and dung, basically. Very thick walls, amazing place, round house, calling Nepali gar, Rato Mato gar. And we needed to get candles, so we went into Snowland, which was a little restaurant. We thought we'd do a little street show, right? Pick up some money. And there was all these very well-dressed Nepalis there. And we're like going, what's going on, And so we did this show. It turned out it was the king of Nepal and the queen and his entire entourage. And at one point, I was doing a ball trick with the king. I'd already done one with the queen. I was doing it for the king, and the guy picked me up and literally moved me away like 5 meters. And I went, huh? And he goes, if you want to do your show, you do it here. And I'm like, well, nobody tells me where to do a show. And I went, honk, honk, ding-a-ling, and we left. And the owner of the place said, do you know who that is? We said, no. He goes, that's the king, His Majesty, the King of Nepal. And I went, oh, my goodness. So we thought, well, okay, we better do something right. So we went back to the house and got all our gear on and all the costumes and everything and the one-man band and my violin and his mandolin and all that and the magic. And we went over to the king's summer palace. And we tried to go in, and they wouldn't let us in. And we said, well, we're just here to do a show for the guy, because we felt bad about the last one. So we did a show right there and then in that spot. And slowly people came out of the palace. It was packed. They were all standing there. And at the end of the show, I was like, oh, we're really sorry we couldn't go. And, now we're hungry and there's no place to eat. And, all we got is money, but you can't eat money, like this. And I was complaining about it. And everybody was laughing. And so we're walking back to along the road by the lake. And it's a full moon night. It's a beautiful night. And there's nobody. Everything is closed. You can hear the boom, from the one-man band. And, as we're walking through, all of a sudden all these red cars come out of the palace. And they pass us a little bit, and then they stop. And this guy comes running out with this cardboard box, like a cake box. And he says, His Majesty is really sorry you missed dinner. He hopes this is okay. There's a box full of cakes and a pot of tea. And I went, really? He goes, yeah. He says, and by the way, His Majesty says he's seen better magic in Las Vegas, but he likes your music. Stay in Nepal. He says to stay in Nepal and learn Nepali music. I went, yeah, right, okay. And 2 weeks later, we went to immigration to get our visas. And they said, what are you doing here? We said, our passports, visas, whatever. And they said, no, His Majesty said, you stay in Nepal. You learn Nepali music. And that was what happened. So we ended up doing shows across the mountains. We walked from village to village, learned Nepali, and we wrote all these songs in Nepali. They became hits. Went to Radio Nepal to record them. And they only had one radio station in all of Nepal. So when you'd hear your song, you'd hear it everywhere. It was just great. And everybody was tuned into the same station, so it was lovely.
Talk about a captive audience, eh, Bobby?
Great story. Love it.
Love it. Do you want to give us a bit of a tune or?
Yeah, just doing. This song was a song we wrote because where we lived, there was one water spigot basically for everybody around there. Everybody shared the water. It was like a well. And all these beautiful ladies and girls would go there to take their showers, around 11 o'clock or something in the morning. And we'd always be sitting on the...
Make a note of that, Bobby, 10:45, we've got to get there.
And we would sit on the balcony of the house and we'd just watch them.
I bet you would.
And so we wrote a song for them, right? We thought we'd write a song. So we wrote this love song, and it was like... Sano Sano Kofila Ayo Fulera, Yozendagi Pramilai Naza Bulera. It's a little bit of a ripoff in a way. We took a Motown song. Every time I see you, my eyes fill up like water in a jug. There ain't no mountain high enough, and there ain't no valley low enough.
Oh.
So yeah, we did take that, but we translated it to Nepali.
I've heard that once before.
Yeah, I wonder if you did.
Once or twice.
And the girls loved it. I mean, we became, it was really amazing. They would always bring food to our house and whatever. And when we went to the radio station and did it, it became an instant hit all over the country. And the Crown Prince, Dipendra, he became our biggest fan. And we did shows in his school, and also in Solti's school, the princess. And by the time we got to Kathmandu, we were like the Beatles. It was crazy. Everywhere we went, we just had schools would just dump out all these kids that come running and screaming.
This is still doing the tour, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we were just doing our thing. We were dressed like 16th century Nepali style. We did the whole show in Nepali. We did poetry in the show. We did all this stuff. Everything was done in Nepali style. And
What year is this?
this would have been 1978, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. And then we got a crazy telegram that said, His Holiness the Karmapa requests your presence. Magic show in Rumtek, Sikkim. I said, huh? Who's the Karmapa? Where's Sikkim? And so that was how we ended up we went back to India to Sikkim. And it was there we met the Queen Grandmother of Bhutan, Ashipema Decheng. She decided to adopt us. She loved us so much, she adopted us officially. And she gave us Bhutanese names. My Bhutanese name is Wanchuk, and Che's name was Rinchen. And she officially adopted us. And the Karmapa said, well, I'll be like your father, and she's like your mother. I'm like, okay. And you couldn't have a better pair of parents, basically, in the Himalayas, because it opened up every door. And I mean, she would send us care packages. We were vegetarians back then, so she used to send us food because she was worried we were not eating properly or something. So there'd be like a box with baby sham and cheese from Europe and all this crazy stuff.
And of course the order slip as well, because your next meal will be.
So we went back to Nepal. Then we wrote another song that became a super hit, and that one was a bit controversial because it was a comedy song. It was making fun of basically Manangis were people that were, how do you call it? They were basically smugglers, very well known to be smugglers at that time, and they used to smuggle gold and silver and for watches. They go to Hong Kong and come back with watches, and then Many of them were also doing drugs and whatever. And so we wrote a song about Sally and Miley, and it became super hit. And this minister decided that it was a bad song because it was these two foreigners doing a song about Nepali people. So he banned the song, and then it went mega. Everywhere you went, people were selling cassettes.
It always happens.
Yes,
I mean,
it was the best advertising ever.
You can't play that. That's it. It's banned. Okay, right. We'll order another 5 million copies of that one. Bobby's got a clip, haven't you, Bobby? I want Penguin to tell us a little bit about this clip that we're going to.
Which one are you going to do? The from Teppanyaki?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do?
Yeah, the one we just loaded earlier.
Oh, okay, so that's Teppanyaki Kamikaze.
Let's have a word about this one because.
Well, after all these years of traveling and stuff, I was really into making film. That was what I was studying in school and whatever. And so I had done a lot of TV shows in Singapore and other places, and traveling. I was always trying to get footage, and I worked for CNBC for a while, and doing travel shows on Star TV. And I met this guy, Jean-Charles Lapin, he invented Inspector Gadget and started Deke Films. He was the biggest name in animation when he finally retired when he was 36 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, he was
36.
36, yeah. Sold over 1.4 billion.
Is that all?
Bought himself an island, a jet, and a castle, as one does, right? When you make that kind of money. And but then he got bored after 16 years or so, and then he started getting back into film and doing things. And then we met I was doing shows at the Olympics in China, in Beijing. I've been hired to do 8 shows a day, and they kept me for the Paralympics. They asked if I could stay, and I said, yeah, sure. And I had dyed my hair bright green, and because they asked me to wear a green outfit, and they showed me a picture of a leprechaun. And they said, we had this design made, and I went, it's a leprechaun. They go, no, it's special. We paid a lot of money for this. I'm like, you got con, but okay.
It's a leprechaun.
I love it. It's a leprechaun. So I dressed up in bright green. Everything was green. My hair, my mustache, you name it, was all green. And I got invited to this dinner from Jean-Charles Lapin, and I showed up all green. I'd just come out of the salon where I'd been getting dyed and whatever. And we met, and we got on like a house on fire. His wife, Singaporean, and I knew her from Singapore. She was my neighbor, and it was crazy. I mean, the connection was just amazing. And then he invited me back to Beijing about 6 months later and asked me if I would do a show with him. And I said, sure. And then we talked about doing a TV show. So he is a really great writer. And he would sit there and write, and we would write together. And we came up with this first episode for a series called, and it was, we still didn't have a name for the show, but we thought, well, let's call it Teppanyaki Kamikaze. So basically, it's a show about Dr. Penguin, who's an idiot. He's basically, that's me. He's a magician who can't get work. He's an out-of-work magician. He's always trying to get a job, but he always fails because he basically, every time he sees a beautiful girl, he loses it.
That's the three of us summed up there.
Yeah, and that's basically the premise of the show. And he tries to help people, but he ends up making a disaster by the end of every episode.
All right, okay. All right, we got a little clip, Bob.
San Francisco. I took the trolley car home one day. Oh, thank
Really
you.
nice, man.
Thank you very much. The I remember,
Make sure you make sure you get him to sign the wall outside the piece that comes away. Yeah, we'll sell that on eBay tomorrow.
I was on a trolley car in my costume, right, top hat and everything, and this couple sitting next to me. And when I got up at Powell Street, there was something tugging in my arm, and I pulled it hard, and I looked, and there was a wig, and it was the woman's wig hanging on my arm. Now, everybody was just stunned looking, and I wanted to laugh, and I couldn't. And I was like, oh, my God, and what do I do now? So I took the wig off the button, and I tried to put it on her head. And then I ran off, and I went around the corner and just laughed and laughed and laughed. And I thought, I got to put that in a show.
You got to keep that bit, haven't you?
So, yeah, I mean, things happen in life that things that actually happen to you are funnier than the things that you can make up.
Right, we want to clear. Bobby, can we sort of pull that microphone back, and we're gonna get a card trick, mate.
Before we get into the card trick, I want to hear a Michael Jackson story and a Stevie Wonder story.
Okay, that's no problem.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, okay. He was on the Bad Tour in 1987. He was in Japan, and where I was working in Hong Kong was a place called Duddles, which is on Duddle Street. And it was a very high-end restaurant, theater, and I was the star of the place. And this guy, Rick Mayo Smith, who was the one of the owners and the manager, he had gone to Japan with the other owners. Somehow they had a connection to Michael, and they invited him to Hong Kong. And Michael said to them, I'll come. Yeah, why not? Happy to do it. I'm on the way to Australia, so I'll come there. But he said, but if there's any press at the airport, I'm going to turn around and go back to Japan. So the day that they kept it secret, and I didn't even know. And then the day that that he happened to be coming, I happened to be in the office and I think I was getting a paycheck actually. And Rick was freaking out, pulling out what little hair he had left. I was like, what's wrong? He says, Michael Jackson's coming. I said, so what? And he goes, yeah, but you don't understand. At Kai Tak Airport, it's packed with the paparazzi in the film. You know, all the press are there. I said, well, what's that? Why is that a problem? Isn't he used to it? And he said, no. He said he would turn around, and he gave me the story. And I said, well, how soon is he going to be there? He said, in an hour. I said, no problem. I called this girl, Janice, and black Canadian singer that was working with us. And I said, quickly come over to my place. We're going to dress you up. And I put on my costume, and we ran off to the Kai Tak Airport. And we didn't even know where to go. But we took it. I actually jumped into an elevator with her. And as we were coming down, there was all the press. Apparently, that was the place they were expecting to see him. And she looked just like Michael with a hat down like that. And I'm looking around and going, where's the limo? Where's the limo? Quick, Michael, run. And we ran. And we went to a taxi, and they chased us. And they were beating on the car and taking pictures and video and stuff. And I was like fighting them off and telling them, Michael has nothing to say, like that. And they chased us all the way into town.
Diversion magic trick number one, yeah?
Yeah, so exactly. So when Michael arrived, there was nobody there. And he got into this Rolls Royce, and he went straight to his hotel. And that night he came to La Maison, not La Maison, to Duddles, and had dinner, and we did a private show for him. And all the newspapers said, Michael Jackson had come, and they had pictures of me with this girl. And it turned out, I let them know it was a prank. I told the South China Post, so that made the headlines as well. And meanwhile, Michael comes, and he eats dinner, and he orders all this food. And Rick says, can you put together some kind of a show? I said, well, what do you want me to do? Because I can do magic, no problem. But the musicians that work here are jazz musicians. There's one guy is a pianist. The other guy's a stand-up bass player. They don't know any Michael Jackson stuff. He said, do you know a drummer? Well, yeah, I know this Jamaican guy. So I get Sam, this Jamaican drummer. So the three of them are up there trying to play together. And Michael gets up, and he wants to sing, and they couldn't do one single song with him. And it was so embarrassing. So luckily, I called Jackie Chan's brother, what's his name? And they had all these great acrobat guys, the stuntmen. And they came running over, and he signed all their T-shirts and stuff. So he had a good time. And we started talking about magic, and because he loved magic. And then we started talking about the Three Stooges versus the Marx Brothers. I'm a big Marx Brothers fan. He was a big Three Stooges fan.
Marx Brothers here.
Yeah, and then we ended up arguing about it. And then it turned out he asked me to guide him around Hong Kong. He stayed for 10 days. So I became their tour guide, basically, and took him to Ocean Park and all these places, and made all the papers and whatever. And we became friends, and later he sent me all these books on the Three Stooges, and I thought that was pretty funny. And then later I met up with him in L.A., and then when he came to Thailand, we met up, and he did my daughter's birthday party at Tower Records. It was her birthday, so all these kids could run around in Tower Records. It was closed just for us with him, and they could pick out any CDs they wanted, any DVDs, whatever. And my son, Ali, was maybe 5 at the time. He couldn't find anything that he liked. He was a big fan of Sesame Street. And so Michael was getting worried. He was like going, how about this? How about that? And Ali was like, no. And finally he finds Oscar Does Trash. And he picks it up as a CD, and Michael's relieved. He takes it, rips off the plastic, opens it up, and writes, with love to Ali, Michael Jackson. And Ali looks up at me and says, he ruined it. I was like, no. And Michael just got to go, okay. So that was a good Michael Jackson moment.
We got a deck of cards. Let's do a deck of cards. So we got a Stevie Wonder, because we can talk about that. Right.
All right. Well, as you can see, there's a deck of cards. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them invisible at the count of 3. Now, it's not easy to do, but I can do it right here live in front of everybody. I'm going to take this hat and cover the cards like this. 1, 2, 2.5, and 3. Voila, they're now invisible. Now, I'm going to open the box right here and shuffle the cards. That's a French shuffle. That's a Russian shuffle. That's an Irish. Never mind. Okay, I'm going to go there. Would you choose a card, please? Only one, not two. All right. Bobby, you pick a card? Okay. So both of you have a card, right? Take a good look at it. What's the name of your card? Which card did you choose?
9 of spades.
The 9 of spades. Put it back upside down anywhere in the deck of cards. Right in the middle. Okay. Bobby, put your card upside down, but don't tell us what it is. Okay, very good. Put it back in the box. Now, I will cover the box with a hat. 1, 2, 3. Voila, they're visible. Amazing. Best card trick in the world.
Best one in the world we've seen, never, Bobby.
Well, wait a minute.
Brilliant.
You picked the 9 of spades,
I
right?
did.
And you put it back upside down.
I did.
So it's the only upside down card in the deck. Is that correct?
It should be. It should be, yes.
Yeah. So when you see an upside down card, I want you just to let me know that you've seen one. There's one right there. Please pull it out and turn it over. Is it the 9 of
Come
spades?
on.
Now, Bobby picked a card, and since Bobby's sitting over there, we can just show it to him here. Bobby, what card did you pick?
The 2 of hearts.
Are you sure? You can change your mind if you want. He doesn't want. Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to open the cards up, and I'm going to ask you to pull out the card when you see it, okay? So whenever you see the upside-down card, just go ahead. Oh, there we go. Where did I just lost it? What happened? There it is at the bottom. Pull it out. Okay, turn it over.
What's
The
yours,
2 of
Bobby?
hearts.
2 of hearts.
Okay.
Get it
Now,
out of
If
here.
there's anybody out there thinking of a card,
Get out
I
of here.
will happily tell that the people in the audience who are listening to this or watching this, if they're from Scandinavia, they're thinking of the Queen of Diamonds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they're from England, they're thinking of the Ace of Spades. Now, see if anybody.
How about
calls it.
Australia? We got Dwayne.
Australia and Dwayne.
Dwayne from Australia. Is it a black card or a red card, Dwayne?
Let's see what he says. We can communicate with Australia. Black or red, Dwayne? What do you reckon, Bobby?
Come on, Dwayne.
He's not answering. I didn't mean to make him disappear.
Yes, you
that
scared him
happens.
away now. You give him
It
too
happens.
You give him too much choice.
There you go. You know, those things happen. But no, it's always fun doing card tricks, and you know, I love doing close-up magic. I did that at the Oriental Hotel for a long time ago, and then all over the world. And I did from Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder, I did this trick right here. In fact, I'll do it for you.
Okay. So this is Stevie Wonder's. So
Yeah, I do tricks for the blind. I do tricks for the deaf. I have done tricks for all kinds of situations, and that's because we do a lot of charity work. We work with kids like that. So what I do is I ask you to give me both your hands like so. Put them right in front. Yeah, there we go. This one is, what are we going to call this one? Knit, and this one is Noi. All right, so these two balls, you're holding my balls for me, perfect. Knit and Noi. Now, knit is in your right hand, Noi is in your left hand. When I count to 3, knit and Noi will change places by themselves. Either that, they'll explode. 1, 2, 2.5, and 3. Oh, they've changed places. You couldn't feel it?
absolutely not.
That's
no.
strange.
Seamless.
I don't understand why. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to take this one. This is Noi. Put Noi in my left hand here. And I'm going to take knit. Give me your right hand. Put it all the way up like this so we can see it there. Hold it in a nice tight fist. Don't let it go anywhere. All right. I've got one here and you've got that one there. When I count to 3, hold this hand very tight. Don't let it go anywhere. Don't open it for any reason. 1, 2, 3. And oh, it's disappeared. Hold on. Shake your hand a little bit. Okay. He's very good at this. All right. Now blow on your hand.
Plenty of practice.
I'm not going to say anymore. I was going to say he's done this before, but you know.
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead and open your hand, and you got both balls there. Now
Wow.
for Stevie, he could feel that, and so he flipped out. He jumped in the air and did a circle, and he said, "Oh my God, no one's ever done that for me." And I went, "Oh, he's got more." I said, "Yeah, sure." He says, "Please come back tomorrow." So we went back the next day, and I did all these tricks I had for blind people, and then he said, I can hire anybody in the world for my show, but I want to hire you. He said,
nice.
can you do something with, I just called to say I love you. I said, yeah, can I get a phone booth and we'll do this and that and we'll make it disappear and reappear. I was working with David Elsie back then. And so we designed a trick for him and the show. It was a great moment. What a great man too. What an amazing man.
He's an amazing
When
man.
he's-
I feel that, man. He's the real deal.
He has the vibe like you can't believe. And whenever I would walk into a room, he'd say, oh, that's Penguin. Okay, I'm a big person, okay, but I mean, there were a lot of big people around. But he remembered things like the name of my kids, my wife, Kyoko-san. He'd always say, how's Kyoko? How's Ollie? How's Tashi? Like, how can you remember all that? You know, I mean, seriously, he knows a lot of people.
He's a beautiful cat.
Oh, amazing!
What an honor you got to hang with him. That's great.
A real honor. He, it was one of the best people I've ever met in my life. It was really something that really it meant a lot. It still means a lot to me. Yeah.
I see you played with the silver ball. Then you did. You did something before the show, and I was watching you, and I was trying to think, did you see that, Bobby? You know, I just hate people like this.
Well, it's a lot of fun when you can do things, and you know, you like. I would go into elevators, like especially like in China. I really enjoy doing that. In China, I would go to an elevator, and everybody's like pushing buttons, right? And I push the button and go like that, and nobody would touch a button after that. I pretend I get electric shock, and you'd be surprised if you touch somebody or just go like that and go. They really feel it. They go, "Oh my God, I felt something," and I'm like, "No, you didn't actually, but okay, if you wanted to think you did, that's all right with me." So
incredible, though, Bobby.
Amazing.
It was fun.
I like the. I'm still trying to work the country out.
It'll keep you up all night. Trust me. It has done that to many people. But I like inventing new tricks, and
that's what I was going to ask you. If
music.
you've invented stuff.
Yeah, always. We in fact, I'm building a new guillotine now. And I got inspired by something somebody posted about COVID, I think, or something. It was it was something to do with money. $600 stimulus check. And he said, for $600 you can buy a guillotine, and this is how much this part costs. That part, and I thought, hey, actually, that's pretty cool. You know, I should build a new one. And so I'm building one that chops the head off, but then I put the head back on the person, and but it's the real head that goes down, which looks really cool. I built one before similar to that, and many years ago, but I haven't. It's been maybe 20 years.
So when you're thinking, I mean, I watch a lot of Penn and Teller as well.
Good
so
friends.
I mean, yeah, great. I mean, the format is really good, but I mean, of course, they all have these keywords and of course the code words that they know when they're talking about different things. But I mean, some of the guys that come on who invent. Like you say, you invent
like Mac King, and I know a lot of those guys.
Yeah,
Johnny
so you invent them. I mean, where does your inspiration come from? Trying to take and make a new trick? Is it inspired from old tricks that you're taking, like a little spice from each one, or how hard is it just to come up with something yourself?
In my day, growing up, I read books, which they don't do anymore. But I collected magic books and read everything I could find. And then I would meet magicians and older guys and talk to them about things. And I would try things and build stuff and a lot of times fail. In fact, my biggest failure was in college because I wanted to get a degree in magic. And Santa Cruz was so cool. They were like, well, okay, we'll do it. But you have to design the course. So from my to get the grade, I would have to invent a trick and perform it publicly live. And there was a great place called the Catalyst, a fantastic club.
I remember the Catalyst.
In Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
A guy named Randall Kane owned it. And I went to see Randall and said, listen, for my grade and everything, I need to do a big show. He says, no, great. We have a big party night on such and such a night. I forgot what it was, June or something. And Neil Young was playing there and stuff. So he said, well, you got the stage. You got half an hour. So I designed a trick, which was a levitation. But I'd done a whole new process, a whole new idea with a fake wall, with a wall. And so the idea was the girl, my girlfriend at the time, the belly dancer, she would rise up in the air, and then when she would get up to a certain point, I'd cover her with a sheet, and she'd vanish or turn to balloons or whatever. And so I had, my best friend was a guy named Dave, and I got this guy, Herbert, my girlfriend, and we designed the show. We built the stuff. It took forever to build. And it was, we had a hydraulic jack. And I had no money either. That's the other thing. And so everything was done very
shoestring-ish.
Yeah, shoestring. There you go. And I decided to do it as a Tunisian wizard. I thought that was really cool to wear like a Arabic style thing.
Absolutely.
She's a belly dancer. It fit. And I got the music together, really great Arabic music and everything. So we show up at the Catalyst and we bring all the stuff. We had only one rehearsal at my place, and the DJ was really stoned, and he lost the music, but he didn't tell us. So, and then I'd hired a guy who was a well-known bum. His name was, I forgot his name now, but he was a Bobo or something like that. He was a bum in Santa Cruz, and I dressed him up as a Grand Vizier, right? Well, everybody recognized him when they saw him. So we start the show, and the guy puts on this Vienna waltz, and I'm going, what the heck is going on? This music. And so she comes out, I introduce her as Miss Direction. And she comes out, and she's trying to belly dance to this this waltz music. And then I introduce Bilbo, the Grand Vizier, and he comes out, and everyone's cracking up laughing. And then I turn to the audience. I'm about to perform an unnatural act, and I put her on the table, and where she's supposed to levitate from. Well, I kind of was, I was nervous, and I'd forgotten the key word that I needed for David in the back to tell him when to open things and do stuff. So like he's just improvising back there, and the hydraulic jack somehow when we moved it got a bubble in it. So it was a device which we call an S bar, and she would lay on that. So there was this big bar that basically pushes her up. Somebody had repainted it, so the paint came off as it was going up. So basically what you got was she was rising, going up, up, like this, jerking up. And this bar looked like it was going up her ass. And it was just pushing her up higher and higher. And I was going, rise, rise, rise. And then Bilbo turns to me and looks at the audience and takes out his fake teeth, puts them back in. Everyone's cracking up. People are falling all over the place. I'm going, oh, no. So I grab the sheet we're supposed to cover her with, and I go up like this. Now, what happens there is a trap door behind in the wall that opens that she rolls through. Only I'd forgotten the word. So I'm going, and now, Dave. And there's no answer. Finally, Dave. Here, what? I said, open the door. No. You have to say the word. I said, I forgot it. So the girl, Nancy, she gets up. She bangs on the door. She sees the audience and lays back down again. Everybody's cracking up. We bring the sheet up. We bring the sheet back down. Dave opens the door, sees the audience, goes, wow! He closes the door. And then when she's finally going through there, Bilbo stepped on the sheet and went all over the place. Everybody could see everything, and the whole thing was falling apart. The whole set fell apart. Everything fell down. And all this is...
was that your last gig at the Catalyst?
It was the best gig ever. It was the music from Thus Sprak Zarathustra, from 2001. Dum, 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 dum. So it really was, it was weird, right? Everybody was laughing so hard. I thought, that's it, I'm finished. I'll never be able to perform like this again and whatever. I go backstage with everybody. I said, please, everybody, don't say anything. It's my fault, whatever. Randall Kane comes back there and says, that's the best comedy magic show I've ever seen. You're hired. And I went, huh? And then another guy from another Bear Creek Theater, he was there. And he came back and said, are you available? We'd love this show. And I was like, I don't think we can ever do it again, but okay, So
try.
I learned from mistakes. And you get inspired by that. So now when I do levitations and stuff, they're all comedy. I prefer the comedy. I don't like doing things that are just straight and just to bamboozle people. For that, I do close-up. Close-up magic is great because it's right in your hands. And you can feel it. You can see it. But on stage stuff, it's got to be funny. And
I think as well, you've got to put some, everybody's sort of seen this and this and this.
Right.
It's not the seeing that which people have seen before, they've all seen that before, whatever. I think it's the way that it's put forward, the showmanship that goes with it, that sells the product. The basic products are always there.
Right.
It's just the way you, basically put it out to...
I think somehow I was inspired by my, what do you call him, a caretaker. When I went to England, I had to have somebody look after me. And so my mother knew, she had like a distant aunt whose husband was Tommy Cooper, who was a magician. English magician, quite well known in
Great
England.
Guy.
And so he was looking after me. And I did a show for him once, and it all fell apart too. But he was great because he would say things like, don't try too hard. Take it easy, take a breath.
He was the biggest fallout on the English TV, but his magic was great. And I'll tell you what,
it was brilliant.
He was a brilliant-minded guy. If you ever seen his film, The Plank, of course, if you ever seen that, it was brilliant.
He was a member of the Magic Circle, but he was also a part of the Magic Six, the Inner Six. They were so secret that they didn't know who the other ones were. That's what he always would say. He had, when he died, I ended up with his fez. Yeah. I have one of his fezzes.
Wow.
And I have, and he left me a suitcase with all the stuff that he stole from hotels. around the
Famous,
world.
famous for that. He was.
Yeah, he was. It
He
was
was.
pretty funny, actually.
And everybody, of course, God bless him. Everybody thought that he was kidding when he was on the stage and it happened.
I've never watched that. I can't look at it.
I mean, I've seen it because I knew different people, at that time, but
I can't look at it.
It was
It's too much for me.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe one day I will, but up to now, he died on stage, Bobby. Just so you know.
Yeah,
he
Doing his thing.
doing his thing, and everybody thought it was
Well, what
part
a
of the
perfect
act.
way to go, right?
Yeah, it was the perfect way to go. But he went in the middle of a trick, going like he forgot what to do, and he go, and he grabs his heart, and he's like, that was it.
And he's, I mean, the thing is with Tommy Cooper, he was always a fool. He always fooled around. He was the biggest fool
Yeah.
in the room, and that's why people loved him.
Yes,
so
of course.
everything.
Did some people think? Of course, some people thought it was
they
a,
just thought
a
it was-
goof, a spoof,
they
right?
just-
Everybody did.
They just thought he
even
was-
the network thought it was.
Even the networks, TV thought he was just fooling around again, and of course, he fell down, and
Yeah.
slumped, and
And actually, they dragged his body under the curtain.
Yeah.
And they thought it was a part of the show.
Wow.
Apparently,
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. But he was an amazing guy. He was a good mentor for me when I was young. It was good to have someone like that in my
And
life.
what a big guy.
Yeah.
Cigars and whiskey, though. Yeah,
He
in
liked
the
to
end?
drink. He
Yeah.
liked to drink. He would take me to a pub, and then when he'd walk in, everybody knew who he was, and they leave him alone. He'd start with a drink at the end of the pub, like an ale, and then once he'd had the ale, he'd get up and then he'd walk over, and everybody could talk, But like until he'd finished that drink, nobody could say a word to him, and he would get me a shandy, and I would drink a shandy, and I was like,
What's
9,
this?
10 years old or something. So it was great.
Great guy, though. Wow,
Yeah,
what a performer!
beautiful
What a
man.
performer. So, what about the magic itself now? I mean, you're still traveling now, or what are you doing?
Well, I can't
I mean,
travel.
not-
no,
sorry,
obviously COVID.
in the situation,
But yes,
the
normally
current
I would
situation.
be. I was in Edinburgh Festival last year in
Great.
August.
Yeah.
I toured, of course, London. I went back to the Gardens. That was great.
Covent Gardens.
Yeah, Covent. I was going to say COVID. That's really funny. We toured France. We did Luxembourg. We went down to Spain and Germany, and that was a great tour. And then normally I go to Mexico every year. I go to a lot of places around the world, Shanghai, to Singapore, whatever. And even Vietnam. I had a great gig in Vietnam booked this year. I was supposed to do it, but it got canceled for Christmas. Beautiful place, Phu Quoc Island. Gorgeous. It's like Thailand many years ago. It's lovely and very nice hotel. Very nice place. Great. But so, yeah, I'm waiting for the COVID to, the vaccine or whatever happens and people can start traveling again. And once you can do that, then I would take the risk to leave the country and go back on tour. Meanwhile, I do charity. I always do charity stuff. I raise money or clothing, blankets, food, whatever, for my favorite orphanages. There's one I just found, beautiful one, up in Chengdao, up by Chiang Mai. Was up there, and it's an amazing school. They also take in kids from the rural area. They all can go to school there, and they do everything organically. They grow their own food. They raise their animals. They teach the kids how to be self-sufficient, and they also don't call them orphans. They call them future leaders, which I think is really
I like
cool.
that.
It's Thai. It's all in Thai. It's wonderful, and I've always been doing that in Thailand since I first came. I've always lived here and then done charity because it's always.
How long you been here now in Thailand?
Off and on, I have no idea. I came in 78 for a year, and then I kept coming back. So 30 years
plus,
something,
30 years.
yeah, on and off. Because I was always traveling. But my son was born here, and my daughter was born in Singapore. So he's lived his almost entire life in Thailand.
What would you say if you could pick out one of the best shows you've done in your mind, not being for the person who's famous or whatever, but
Yeah.
just the best show where you think that was it, that was it. Can
Wow.
you? I don't-
I would say when I did this show for the refugee camp, Kawi Dang, wow, that was in the 90s. That was an amazing show, over 100,000 people. I didn't know how they could see, but the crowd was fantastic, and the Thai people that were working with me were amazing. They were really good. I had a very good group that I'd put together. I'd started in 1988 training some Thai artists, this guy Kuntada and quite a few others, and they really were absolutely amazing. They went, after I taught them, they took it on and went further. So I found them again, and I said, let's do this together, and let's do something. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a tour.
when you was talking about being on the streets and performing on the streets. I mean, you must have had some good sort of memories from those days, because I mean, I used to travel myself and speak to street performers, and also the artists that paint on the floors and on the walls. And that. I mean, you must have had some great times.
For me, it's about improvisation. Everything's about, I'm an improv artist. Everything I do is improvisation. So when we were in Italy doing a show, I was doing a show in Bologna, and there was a festival going on. And it was evening, but I had really beautiful lighting in this piazza. And there was, I was set to do a show there, part of the festival. And there was this big group of people, and it was, at least 300, 400 people watching the show. And it was what I called a, catching money show, because it was just it was a nice audience. I'm halfway through the show, and this crazy guy comes running into the circle and starts dancing and starts taking off his clothes, one piece by piece. I didn't know, I work with hecklers all the time. I've had all kinds of ways of dealing with them, but this guy was on something. I mean, I don't know, I couldn't get through to him. So what I did was I started following him with my hands as if he was like a puppet in my hands. And I was making him do that, right? So he actually took everything off and then left his clothes and ran away. And I thought, and I brought the hands down to my sides, and I went, oh. And then I brought them back up, and I pointed them at this woman. I said,
Come
"Non
on.
corre, non corre, no." And she screamed and ran off. She thought I was going to make her do it. That, for me, was a great moment. That was a great moment.
Well, one of the great moments.
Yeah.
Good. Hey, I like that, Bobby, don't you? Hey,
I thought she was going to take her clothes off.
It would have been funny if she did, but no, she was really nervous. She was scared.
Well, where does the future lie? I mean, when the COVID is over, have you got things already lined up where you're going to be going?
I'm writing a new show right now with a guy named Rod Williams and Jean Chalopin, where we want to take that show much further and much deeper. And so we're going to add animation. My son does great animation, great characters with Bingo and all these characters. So we're going to add those. There's a shiny bear, one of the characters, and Rod is an American Indian. He's a what they call an elder, and he knows all these great stories. And he's a good storyteller, and he's using these American Indian stories as part of our makeup in the show. So it's really, we spend a couple of hours every morning on not Zoom, but we're using another one like Messenger and discussing this stuff, and we're putting it together. And we hope to shoot it in 21. Next year. That would be great. I'd like to do it here.
Cool.
Because everything is here. You have
Absolutely.
Karma Studios.
Yep.
I have Living Films up in Chiang Mai now that I can use. So I don't have to depend on my own stuff. I can get other people. And I found some great actors and actresses and musicians here. There's such good people here. Really, really talented people living in Thailand. And Thais and foreigners mixed together. It's I can get a really good crew together.
So what, you're going to be putting together a sort of like a series of...
Yeah, we'll do the first one as to show networks and stuff. But I think we're going to try to finance the entire series, the first part of it, like 13 episodes or whatever. And that way we can put it out on Netflix or something. I've talked to Netflix, I've talked to HBO, they always come back with, at least they listen to me and they'll meet me. I will fly over, go see them, and they're really nice, and they're always saying, we love your stuff, but we just don't know where it fits. And I'm like, okay, but one day it will fit.
Yeah,
so it's going to go.
So with sort of filming it over here, and is it sort of Thai or is it Europeanish?
It's for the whole world.
Okay,
that's the idea. It's without borders. That's the idea. I like everybody to be able to laugh. And my whole thing in life is about making people laugh. And that's all I want to do.
Charlie Chaplin's quote, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
That's
what he did.
When it comes to the series, you're going to be going for like this, the sort of no talking ones?
Yes.
Yep.
Very
Silent.
If there's any talking, it won't be me. It'll be somebody else, the storyteller, the narrator, or something like that. That can be done in any language, and therefore it travels. I
used to watch a program on TV years and years ago. The good old days. I don't know if you used to remember seeing that. It reminded me we've met before, but when I've seen your pictures, it reminds me about the guy who was in there. I'll send you a picture of him, and what you're talking about, doing this kind of stuff, it all sort of falls in together. We love this stuff, don't we, Bobby?
I love it.
Eh?
It's awesome.
My
improvisation, creativity, being in the moment, man.
Yeah.
That's your world.
That's exactly where to be. That is real life for me.
Yeah.
And you know, my two,
right now,
my two
be here
kids,
now.
my two lads, sit down and watch all of Laurel and Hardy's. They watch all of Chaplin. Yeah, they watch Butcher Keaton. They love it.
I'll send you my Dr. Penguin's Magical World stuff that we re-edited and made it shorter and took out the sound because I was talking in that show. And in that show, I also taught magic and would teach a trick. Like, actually,
You're going to teach me one, weren't you?
Yeah, why not? This is when I teach the kids all the time.
I want to know what you did with that last magic trick. I'm going to ask you off camera afterwards, bro.
That's why it's called magic, Bobby.
This one is when I do workshops for kids all the time, and I like to teach them magic that teaches them physics or mathematics or whatever. And this one is just fun, and I do it in all my TV shows and whatever. So all I need here is a sugar cube, right, and then a pencil and a glass of water and your hand. I need your right hand and your left hand actually. Let's put them both out there. Okay, so I can reach. Okay, and then we can see it on the camera. No problem. I'll just move this a little bit so it's easy. All right. Now what I'll do is, you could pick another letter, but I was going to put the letter D. I'll draw the letter D here for David. There you go. And I'll make it as thick as I can. This is not a number 2 pencil, unfortunately. But so that you can see it on camera. That's the main thing. Can they see that? There's a D.
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the water like so. Now, put your hands up like that. Let me see this hand. Let me see that hand. This is your left hand. This is your right hand. Okay. Put this one over here and that one on top. Okay. I'm going to hit the glass like that. And you can see, if you can see closely, you'll see that the lead is actually floating up to the top of the water. All right. This hand, raise your right hand over the other one like this, up and down. No, keep that one there. This one over like that. Go up and down. Very good. Say the magic words, numini numinow.
Numini numinow.
Numini numinow. Okay.
Numini numinow.
Wonka wonka.
Wonka wonka.
I love it. All right.
He knows me.
Okay, take this hand away. All right, now lift this hand up and turn it over, and you have the letter D in the middle of your hand.
Wow.
This is really easy. This is a really nice trick. And kids do this for adults, and adults go, what? It's great when I see a kid do it. And all it is when you...
Hey, David, can you put your hand on camera to show the audience your D? Turn it over a little more. Yeah, there you go. There's the D.
There's the D.
Okay, so all it is...
It's going to show us how to do this now, Bobby.
You take a pencil.
We got to watch this.
And
look.
Let's say we just put an eye, a big eye there. Okay, a straight line. Now, when I put it in the water, I take my thumb and I just press it for a second over that mark. What it does is it transfers it to my thumb. Because it's sugar, it becomes sticky. So when I drop it in the water, and then when I take your hand, give me this one. When I actually take your hand, I actually hold it like this. I actually put the thumb against your palm for a moment and then put it on top. And
Transfer that lead right
It's
over.
already there. But when, then the rest of it's all just talk and patter. And it's a great trick. And every kid can do it. Every adult
actually,
can do it.
does the lead actually dissolve off?
Yeah,
off
it does. It's funny how it does that.
I saw that dissolving. I was looking close, and the camera actually got that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. It's a lot of fun. I teach a lot of tricks like that, and number tricks.
Can you show me another card trick? Have you got one that you can do?
Well, we always say one card trick is that's kind of a rule of magic.
Oh, is it?
Magicians only do one card trick.
What about 2 sugars, please?
No, but
so listen. So when's the recording starting? You starting to do like 2021? You say, yeah?
Yeah, we definitely will shoot next year, and I'm hoping that it's all depending on the COVID thing. But like if we can start with pre-production, probably in June, and then shoot by September would be nice, and that would be perfect. And then we're going to be looking for people. We're going to be casting. We're going to be asking for help, of course, because it's...
Well, we can do that over the website.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people now. We can find you some. We can be 2 stuntmen, can't we, Bobby? Mm-hmm. You can be the stuntman. You can be the stuntman for me.
Okay.
We look alike, don't we?
Yeah, you guys pass for each other.
Separated at birth, believe it or not.
You can tell. Different mothers, right? No, but it's a great profession. Magic is great. It's a great hobby if you're just into hobbies. But magic is wonderful because everybody becomes a child when they watch it. I mean, I've done magic in situations where I've had real serious situations with people pointing guns at us and stuff. And I immediately started with a ball and
Why?
become a
What
flash.
happened? What was the deal with that?
We were trying to cross a border into Algeria, and I was going with these guys who had camels. I wanted to go with the nomads, the Tuaregs. So I was all dressed up as a Tuareg and everything, and we got stopped by these military, I don't know what you call them. They were kind of a convoy, and they could tell I wasn't a local. I mean, I didn't look like them at all. So they started with they were going to shoot us. I mean, they were actually talking about executing us, and I understood enough Arabic to understand that was what they were talking about. So I pulled out a ball, I threw it in the air, and then of course it vanished, and I started doing stuff, and then they started looking like that, and then next thing you know, I'm doing a flash with flash paper, and I'm doing a show. And they've put their guns down, and they're all like, "Oh wow, okay, you can't." Then they tell me, "You can't come here. You have to go back to Morocco." And I went like, oh, "Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know, and thank you very much." And
For magic.
yeah. I remember in Afghanistan, the first day in Herat, I went to the bank, and there was a line of people waiting to change money because it needed Afghan money. They called AFs back then, and waiting for them to open. So there's a line there. I thought, hey, perfect opportunity to make some money or whatever, So I'm doing like a street show there. And when the bank opened, and the guard had this beautiful old Enfield rifle. It was like 1890 something, whatever. And he wanted to see the magic trick. He wanted to do the ball trick. So he handed me his rifle in the bank so he could have both hands to do the trick. I just thought that was wild. That was pretty funny. You do get those moments,
Do you learn the word magic in each?
Yes, of course. Yeah, Lenkong.
That's the password, right, for every
Lenkong.
country.
Yeah, of course. In fact, in like Indonesia, I would call myself Sulap Malas, the lazy magician. And my partner Che would call himself Bruno Nakal, which was the naughty one, the really naughty guy, because that was his character. It was he'd always play jokes like we would do our show as the Too Much Brothers. We would at one point we'd always look for somebody like a heckler in the crowd, a kid that knows everything, that kind of stuff, right? So we'd bring him up, put him in a chair, dress him up with all kinds of stuff, things that turn and whatever in his eyes, and putting balls through his head, and then the ball disappears, and I can't find it, and there's smoke goes off under the chair. When he stands up, there's a big pile of poo on the chair, right? And we were famous for this trick. It's really funny. And it turns to confetti and a whole bit. But it does shut them up real quick, believe me. It works. It's a good one. But in Indonesia, we actually wrote some songs in Indonesian and Malay. And we toured with a band called, what were they called? I remember the song. They were Sweet Charity. That was the name of the band. Sweet Charity. Fantastic band. I think the lead singer just died recently. They had a big hit called Jangan Fikir Lama Lama, and it was such a great song. And we met them by accident. We were fans of theirs. And then actually, it turned out that one of the bass player was our postman.
Wow.
In Singapore. And we were jamming, and we had a studio. We were playing, and he came in and picked up a bass. And next time I was doing
Away you go.
Who's this guy?
It's amazing. I mean, how things sort of congeal when you're on the road, isn't it? I mean, situations that you get in that you would never think of a million years of getting into.
I was so lucky so many times in my life to meet great people. I was at the Oriental Hotel doing New Year's Eve many, many years ago, and Peter Ustinov was there. And they hired me to entertain his wife because he was always walking around the swimming pool entertaining everybody else. And she was bored. She was Swiss, and she was not very amused. So I was hired to kind of keep her busy, in the daytime, but I was working at night anyway there. And that night on New Year's Eve, there was a table, and I went over and did some tricks, and they were screaming and laughing, and they said, please, have some champagne with us. So I did. And the girl looked very familiar. I was like, I know this girl from somewhere. I said, excuse me, but were you a juggler or something? Were you working in Taiwan? And then she goes, no. I said, but you look just like a girl that I know. I can't put my finger on it. She goes, oh, it happens a lot. And it turned out it was Annie Lennox. And she invited me to stay with the table. And the management said, it's okay, go ahead and join the table. They really like you. They're paying extra to have you there. I'm like, great. And I didn't know who she was. And I'm doing magic for them and telling them stories. And next thing you know, she says, you want to dance? I said, sure. So we're dancing. And somebody was taking pictures of us, right? And so she got angry. I said, I'm really sorry. It happens to me all the time. People are taking photos. And she goes, no, they're taking pictures of me. I said, really? Why? Who are you? And she says, I'm Annie Lennox. I said, oh, from Eurythmics. Oh, my God. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know. It happens to me a lot. I meet people and don't know who they are. And you know, it happened with Adam Clayton. A friend of his was a friend of mine, but I didn't know that this was Adam Clayton from U2 that was coming. I was in Shanghai, and my friend Ian says, oh, I got a rock star friend. He's coming through, you know. I said, yeah, right. Just joking, right? Because we know a lot of people. And he says, maybe you can look after him, you know, when he gets there. His name is Adam, and he's coming with a girlfriend, and if you could just show him around and whatever. So, of course, I take them all over the place, and, you know, I'm showing them, I'm paying for everything. I take them to dinner. And I said, you know, what do you do? He says, I play bass. I said, oh, wow, okay, sorry, you know. And I shouldn't say that, but I always feel sorry for bass players.
Another broke musician.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, exactly. So, and I wouldn't let him pay for anything. I said, hey, man, you're a musician. I'm a magician. I'm a big star here at La Maison. You know, save your money. And this kept going on for days. And then they wanted to invite me for dinner, so they took me to a place called T8, which is a very expensive restaurant in Xintiandi, right across from where I was working. So I said, well, I come over there and I'm looking at the menu, the cheapest thing on the menu.
God, I bought you food for 3 days. I can't do another fourth day here.
Yeah, right. So
You're taking the pee here, mate.
So I looked for the cheapest thing because they're offering me dinner, and I said, I'll just have the French fries with, you know, like this little thing that was a dumpling or something. And he said, no, have anything you want. I said, no, really, man, save your money because you're a musician. I have a lot of musician friends. I wanted to be a professional musician.
Just a broke
and
bass
they're
player.
always broke. They're always, you know, they're going to go broke. They know, you know, save your money. He goes, well, we had a pretty good year. And I said, really? And they just delivered me a glass of red wine, and I'm drinking it. I said, well, did you do anything I would know? And he goes, well, I'm in this little band, and I'm starting to drink the red wine. And he goes, it's called U2, and I spit it out all over the place.
Come on, really? Seriously?
Yes, seriously. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Oh.
In that case, I'll have the steak.
I had to go to work, right? Yeah. And the funny thing was the night before, they came to see me doing my show. And I said, before I got on stage, and I said, now you see what I do, man. Like, you know, and I'm up there on stage and everything. So he invited me to do a show with him in Sydney in 2006. And I flew to Sydney, and they were, you know, this whole thing of getting in is a special way. There's almost like a game. You have to go to this place to get that pass, and then this place to get that pass. And finally, I get led into the big green room. Everybody's there. And then the guy comes and says, is there a Dr. Penguin here? I say, yeah, come with me. And then I get taken back to where Adam and the guys are. And Adam is like really happy to see me, hugs and everything. And then he says, and now you see what I do. I went, yeah, okay. You know, fair enough. You got me on that one. Yeah. But it was really it was a wonderful night, and lovely people. They were great. The show was fantastic. It was really good. And very, very friendly. But over the years, I've met a lot of people without realizing who I met. And it was always kind of funny to find out later that, oh, that's so-and-so, and that's that, you know. In Nepal, when we would do our shows from village to village, there was a group based in Kathmandu that was a travel company called Humpayeti. As two guys, very, very funny guys. One was English, the other was American, Addison and David. And they had these beautiful Tibetan tents. But one thing about them was they always had wine and they had cheese, right? Which, I mean, when you're up in the mountains, that's a big thing, right? I mean, seriously. You're eating dal bhat sabji every day, which is just rice with local kind of curry, and that's it. So whenever we saw one of those tents, we knew, oh, Humpayeti, man, they're coming, you know. So they always have like rich tourists or whatever. And one time we were up by Dolpo and we were doing a show, and we see the tent. So we moved the show just over to where whoever was in the tent could see that there was something going on, so they would invite us in, right? And they did, right? This guy comes out, a lovely guy comes out, and with this was a younger guy with him and a woman, and she was into Tibetan Buddhism, and the younger guy was into music. He was into drums. He really liked our music. And the older guy was like just really fascinated. He was watching us, and then he said, "Please come and join us." We said, "Okay," you know. And we're eating and stuff, and he's saying, "I really admire what you're doing," and and all this stuff. And then I said, well, "What do you do?" He says, "Well, I'm an actor." And I said, "Oh, okay. Anything I would know?" He says, "Well, I'm pretty famous. Yeah, you know, you might have seen some movies." And I looked at him and I said, you're the guy in what was it, Cat Ballou? He goes, no, that's Lee Marvin. I'm James Colburn. And I went, oh. But he loved it, and he invited us to come stay in his house. We stayed 3 months in his place in Beverly Hills.
You can never buy these memories again. You can never buy them, bro. Listen, we wish you the best of luck for the short movies that are coming out. We're definitely in.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
we're
sure.
in. I'll volunteer him.
And
say anything.
one thing more I like to
Sure.
say, that what I'm doing now in charity stuff, I'm working a lot with a group called JID.
Okay.
And they're really cool because what happens is people spend money and they buy something, that the percentage of that goes to help a charity that they like.
Oh, cool.
So I've gotten involved with them. They're really good.
Okay, well, if you give us the link to that, we'll put it on the video, and anything you've got with links to you, we'll put it on the video as well on Talking Heads. That'll be courtesy of Bobby P at the end there, because he's the master of control, of course.
Okay, yeah, they're helping. Basically, you can name any charity you want, and whenever you like, if you go to a restaurant, the bill doesn't change. Everything's the same price, but the percentages goes to the charity of your choice. So it's a nice way to for people to help other people. So I like it. I'm very turned on.
We've always said to everybody, and we're not biased here, that our door is open to anybody, isn't it, Bobby?
It is. And
Anybody.
Penguin, you got to come in again.
Oh, I'll be happy to.
I know you got a couple of Vault more stories.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get you in here, and also we'll probably bring you in on the table when we've got another guest or and we're all sort of like.
I'd like to bring this guy Stefan, this musician that I'm working with.
He's
He's great.
Bring him, please.
Bring him.
And okay.
Anybody that's out there, if you're listening, okay, listen to, like we said, Bobby and ourselves invite you into our living room. This is Talking Heads podcast. This has been Penguin today. Bobby's at the end. What do you say, Bobby? See you next time.
Awesome. I'm ready for the next one. Come back, Penguin, please. Thank you so much.
And it's Merry Christmas from
Merry
us all.
Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking Heads podcast live from Pattaya, Thailand, with your host Dave D. Join us weekdays. Check out all the latest updates on talkingheads-podcast.com.